I wanted to kind of get us started into our warm-ups. I will say a few things from a personal training standpoint. If you're going to be doing stretching, I would not necessarily recommend doing like static stretching before grappling if you're only grappling here or there and you're only stretching here and there. Studies have shown that actually increases the risk of injury, whereas if you were to stretch more every day for a long period of time, as in years, right? You're going to be seeing a lot more flexibility coming out of that, but acute stretching is going to do more harm than good, probably. But if you want to do push-ups, squats, lunges, crunches, things like that, to just kind of get the synovial fluid going in all your joints, feel free to do that. But the warm-ups that we're going to go through today are going to be a lot more focused on actual skills that we will need for grappling and imitate a lot more movements. And these are going to just be general drills that anybody can do. So the first one we're going to do is we're going to do a back roll. And these are the ones that we actually use at my academy that I train at. So for a back roll, I'm just going to be kind of in this butterfly position. As I come down, I'm going to let myself kind of relax into that and get a little bit of that butterfly stretch. When I come back, this is the important part, is that when I come back, I want to put my weight between my shoulder blades. I don't want it on my neck. So your chin's going to be tucked. And you see that I'm not really getting up to like where my neck's getting compressed there. So we're just going to roll back, probably about 10 times or so. And that's going to be kind of your first one. Now, the second one's going to be kind of the same sort of concept. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a pathway here. So I'm going to kind of bring my ear down to the side. I'm going to kind of look into that a little bit. And what I kind of find, especially for newbies, that kind of helps this one, is I will actually extend my arm out. And so doing that is going to kind of cue me a little bit more to put more of my weight over here, my deltoid, rather than close to my neck. And what people will often do is they'll tend to kind of come here and then come off to the side. And that's not quite it. And so when I'm doing these warming roll-ups, a lot of times I think about a target straight there. And when I do the second one, I tend to hinge my body, cheat my body over about, 35 degrees or so. And then kind of go back to the same target. I don't know if that's going to help you think about it. But I put out my arm, and I want my whole body, I'll face this way so you can see, right? So you can kind of see that my weight is basically from my upper trapezius all the way down to my arm, and I'm able to touch this toe here. You see I can actually stay here a fairly long time, right? So I'm going to come back, touch, back, touch, right? You see, I'm not really putting out my arm anymore. I kind of put out my elbow. I don't have to extend my arm all the way, but I'm just touching. It's nice, light, and easy. I'm not putting any weight on my neck. Right? And again, we'll do about 10 of those to 12 or whatever. And then the next one that we're going to do is we're going to start to come up into a straight line. And when we do this, right, I personally engage my glutes. So I don't necessarily see everybody do that, but I'm going to come back here and come up. So if you can see, my feet, I'm putting what we call, or what my school calls, having my boots on. So my feet are flexed. I'm not pointed like a ballerina, but I'm actually flexed like I'm wearing a boot. And when I roll back, you see, my neck is touched. The back of my head touched a little bit of the ground, but I didn't have any weight on it. I didn't have any weight on my neck. So, back, boom. Okay, so I'm trying to keep those feet flexed. I'm squeezing my glutes as I come up. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come into the triangle choke position. And a few things that I kind of want to emphasize is that when I go into this triangle position, I've got my boot on this foot. So we're keeping that kind of anterior tibialis engagement right there throughout the whole thing. And I'm going to just lock over and put a little twist to my body. So this one we don't always try to go as high up as we did with the straight line, but from here, right, and I'm just alternating sides there. See, if you watch that foot, it's staying flexed, and actually kind of, for me, in order to ensure that that foot is flexed, I'm flexing both of my feet all the time, right? All right. And I guess I'm gonna roll away from you just for a second so you can actually see where my weight is a little bit, right? I'm very relaxed about this. I'm not putting any heavy weight up onto my neck. It's all between those shoulder blades and going straight up. And as I walk, I put a little bit of a twist in my body. All right. So, moving on a little bit, we're going to go into a combat-based / technical rise position. And so when we're looking at how we come up in any type of grappling self-defense situation, there are a few things that we can do. One of them I can't do at all. But we can kind of make a ball and then come straight up. I can't do that. But what I can do, and I find that this is actually pretty accessible from the very beginning, is I want to create a cylinder, right? So in this case, you see I've got my foot pointed. I don't want to get caught up on my foot. And I'm just going to roll over that shin, right? So as I roll over, I've got my other foot here, and I'm going to come into this combat base. And you can see when I'm getting into this combat base, I'm keeping my elbows tucked in. I don't want to have those out where people can grab them and start to attack me. I'm gluing my elbow to my inner thigh here, and I'm coming back into this base, right? And sometimes, you can come forward, you can get a pretty good stretch out of this, right? So sometimes we'll come out here and kind of get right there into your psoas and whatnot. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna roll straight back, and as I come up, I create that cylinder before I even hit the ground. I've got my leg extended, and I roll through and I find that protected position, right? Elbows tucked in, nice and clean. Right, so there's that from the other side, but different angle. Boom. Boom. Okay, so this is like if we were doing like a guard pass or something, we broke open somebody's guard, we don't want them to be able to walk back into the guard. This is the position, this combat bases that we're going to be coming into. And I know I kind of called it a little bit of a technical rise position. There's a little bit of a similarity there, but not really. So I apologize. The next one we're going to do is kind of this S-mount position. And we'll use this position a lot like if we're trying to finish an omoplata, which is a leg-based shoulder lock. And what I'm going to do here is the same concept. This front leg is going to become a cylinder, and then I'm going to come up. I'm just getting a little bit of a stretch here. Sometimes people will, switch their legs when they get to this position. Some people will just kind of stop here and they'll come into this your piriformis stretch, right? So you might stretch out that back leg, put your boot on, and stretch out to that corner. When you land on the other side, stretch out to that corner if you want to. But generally speaking, how this one will go, if I'm going very basic, I just create that S position. And if I want to get more advanced, when we come up, sometimes I will do it and I'll just ride that momentum up. Other times I'll do it and I'll actually intentionally stop here and then work on this because I want to get that back engagement. I want to get those glutes into it, and I want to actually use those muscles to help get me up rather than just riding that momentum. So, riding the momentum, dead stop, glute engagement down versus. And so if you're going to do this one, I don't switch my legs in that one. I keep them there. So on and so forth. All right. So once we get through with that one, we can come down and let's go ahead and do a bridge here. So when we're doing any type of bridge, I want to have my heels as close to my butt as I possibly can. All right. So, and this is going to be a theme anywhere. Like if I am stuck on the bottom side control mount or whatever, and I've got my legs stuck under here, try to move. Right. This is hard. Right. I can't do anything with my legs flopped open. If I try to bridge, that's it, right? So if my feet are way away, I got this little wimpy bridge. If I get my heels as close to my butt as possible, then I can get really high with that bridge. Now, just like with the first warm-up set we did, my weight's between my shoulder blades. I'm not putting weight on my neck when I bridge. Now, you could just do a bunch of
bridges right here. I'm keeping my abs engaged. I'm trying to keep it more of a flat back. I don't want to bridge by arching my back, right? I'm using those glutes and that back chain to do that. So I've got my heels close to my butt, and you could practice just bridging straight up. Notice that I'm keeping my hands in here, right? Just because I'm warming up doesn't mean I have to practice bad habits. This is your defensive position when you're on your bottom, is that you're actually keeping your hands close in. Now, we're going to start to add kind of a bridge and roll here. So I'm going to bridge and get that stretch as far as possible over here. And what I kind of want to aim for here is I kind of want to get this shoulder past this shoulder, right? Right? So it's kind of straight up and roll. And the other thing is you can look and you can see where my head is going. I'm looking the direction I'm bridging, okay? Anytime I'm trying to roll or I'm trying to take somebody down, my eyes are always going to follow the direction that I want to go. So if I try to keep my eyes straight up, see, I can't touch the ground. It limits my power. It limits how far I can go with this. So I'm going to look, and I'm really kind of focusing on driving my hips straight up and getting that rotation to try to get my shoulder, the top shoulder, past the lower shoulder, right? So kind of the last one that we're going to kind of touch on, this really, really basic version, is going to be leg circles. And I'm going to show that from this angle, actually. Well, let's kind of start here so you can see what's happening here. So basically all I'm doing is I'm going to go from pointing straight up, I'm going to go out to the outside, inside, bump, but I'm going to do it with both legs. And so this would be a basic version of this, right? I'm trying to keep my knees as far apart, flopped open as wide as I possibly can because I kind of want to open up those hips, right? And what's actually kind of more important, you can actually see that my hips are not flat on the ground, right? If I don't do that, I'm not getting that engagement. So in order for me to get my hips to move, I'm going to have a single point of pressure on the mat, right? My hips are off the ground. I can actually easily slide my hands under my hips. My shoulders are off the ground, right? And then I get that. Now, don't feel bad. The first time you do it, a lot of times people will kind of do, something that kind of looks like this. It's really awkward. This takes a long time to get down. And we'll usually do it probably 20, 30 seconds per part of this. So I'm going kind of up and out right now. And then when you get to that 20, 30 second mark, we're going to reverse that. And this one I'm horrible at, right? But you can eventually get there. And the last one, and again, the hip movement is pretty much what this drill is all about, is I'm going to do windshield wipers here, right? I'm not trying to force and torque my knee. This is all happening right here at the hips. So I'm going tap, 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 tap. And again, the whole point of this is to get those hips moving.
Now, a lot of times, for this particular one, because we get kind of that over-engagement of the abdominals, we'll go ahead and come up into like an upward-facing dog, just kind of get that to kind of relax a little bit. But again, I'm not positive that that's really 100% necessary. So we'll be getting to some more advanced drills here in a second, and I'll be posting that in the next video. Thanks.